What do a pantsless Florida man throwing rubber snakes, a ghostly parent, and a woman whose face was twisted into a demonic grin all have in common? They were all caught on camera, and they're all kinda unexplainable. So this is security footage of a car plowing into a police station. Luckily, it wasn't a robot from the future looking to terminate anyone in the building though, just a dude in a blouse with no pants ranting and raving that he was possessed by the devil, throwing rubber snakes all around the place. Guess what state this happened in? It's Florida. So in June of 2024, a 40-year-old man named Joseph Leedy made headlines in Martin County, Florida when he drove his Toyota sedan straight into the lobby of the Martin County Jail. The cops found Leedy wearing only a woman's blouse with no pants. He'd poured motor oil on the floor and threatened to set the place on fire. Leedy also threw rubber snakes onto the floor and made disturbing statements, including that the, quote, devil told me to kill everyone. Deputies, of course, tried to subdue Leedy as he resisted arrest. Even after being tased and given multiple doses of medicine to try and calm him down, he still wasn't cooperating. Leedy was eventually restrained though, and taken to a hospital where he just kept yelling and screaming. Fortunately, no one was injured during the incident as the lobby was empty at the time. This next eerie clip comes out of Mexico. A teacher was captured on a security camera one night marking some papers when he started to act strangely. See, according to him, the mother of a student came to the classroom door and they had started having a conversation, but everyone was confused because the only person on camera was him. The teacher said that this parent came to the door and asked him for a student, who of course wasn't there. The school day had ended. He then said he watched as the mom walked to an adjacent room, at which point he got up to speak to her more, but when he got to that room, he found it was completely empty. And there was no sign of the woman anywhere in the hallway either. Suddenly, it dawned on him that something was just off about this whole situation, at which point he decided to grab his stuff and get the hell out of there. Now, this may be one of the most famous instances of a possible possession captured on security footage. The woman in the clip is named Debbie Berman. She was on a ghost hunt, part of a team investigating one of the most haunted houses in Britain, a place called The Cage in St. Osyth, Essex. It used to be a prison for women accused of witchcraft back in the Elizabethan era. 8 of these supposed witches are said to have died there. Well, the ghost hunting crew decided that they were going to stay overnight, and at around 3 a.m., while they were in the master bedroom, said to be the most active room in the house, something strange happened. Debbie started acting weird. Well, more like her face started acting weird, morphing into this twisted, ghoulish grin, her eyes turning pitch black. And it was all caught on one of the security cameras they'd placed in the room. Lead investigator Brad Mack was pretty shaken up, saying she looked totally unrecognizable. And things got even freakier when Debbie said that her back was burning. She lifted her jacket, and there were 4 deep scratches down her back. Nobody was near her, nobody touched her, at least no one the team was able to see. There's this wild piece of footage out of Brazil that started making the rounds back in 2017. It was recorded at Miguel Couto Municipal Hospital in Rio de Janeiro, and honestly, it's one of the creepiest things ever caught on camera inside a hospital. So this guy shows up with a bullet wound to the face, and instead of lying down and waiting for help like a normal injured person, he starts wandering the halls. But it's not just stumbling around, he's walking like he's being taken over by something. His back is all rounded back, his arms and legs are jerking in these weird, unnatural ways, and he's screaming. But it doesn't sound exactly like screams of pain. Instead, it almost sounds like he's exhilarated, being controlled by someone or something else. Security guards managed to capture some of the altercation on camera. There was no official word from the hospital about what actually happened. They never released a diagnosis, never explained it medically. Any level-headed person would, of course, assume he was on something, but without context, you'd probably think this was behind-the-scenes footage of a zombie movie or something. In York County, Pennsylvania, a mom of 4 named Amanda Pitt caught something really weird on her security camera. It rattled her so badly, her family started thinking about moving. So at 3:40 a.m. on October 21st of 2023, Amanda had been sleeping when she suddenly woke up to the sound of heavy footsteps inside the house. Naturally, she checked her security camera feed, expecting to see her husband or maybe one of the kids moving around, but no, what she saw was something else entirely. "I made sure Jeffrey was still in bed because I thought it could be him," she said. "I checked on the camera and stared at it for a little bit because I thought I saw somebody." On the feed, there was this blurry, ghostly figure just standing in the doorway of her kitchen, not walking, not moving, it was just there. Totally freaked out, she shook Jeffrey awake and told him to go check it out. He crept downstairs, and there was nothing. No open doors, no broken windows, there was no sign of a break-in. But their dog, Ollie, was acting sorta weird, pacing the kitchen, clearly shaken up by something. Amanda couldn't shake the feeling. She stayed up the rest of the night, glued to the TV, trying to calm herself down, but that image was burned into her brain. "I couldn't go back to sleep. I laid there and turned on the TV because I was scared," Amanda continued. "I kept going back to the camera, but I couldn't see it anymore, so I thought maybe I was seeing things. The next morning, I didn't even know what to make of it." She kept a screenshot of the ghostly figure just to prove that she wasn't going crazy, but even with the photo, she still kept checking the camera again and again, trying to convince herself that she'd just imagined it. Thing is, this wasn't the only time something strange had happened in the home. "Things have happened here before," Amanda said. "The people who lived here before didn't live here for very long, but we never found out why." Amanda and her family moved in back in 2020, and weird stuff started happening almost immediately. She'd get camera alerts on her phone when no one was home. Doors would open on their own. The kitchen sink turned itself on one time. "I've never been a ghost believer, but we've had things happen that make us question it," she admitted. "That picture is terrifying. Thinking there's something like that in your house, you question everything." Well, if the dead ever did start rising from their graves and we had a real-life zombie situation on our hands, I imagine it would look something like this. This is some doorbell camera footage of a man trying to break into a house. I don't think this guy lives here. Now, obviously he's on something, right? Or a concoction of substances, but my God, does look like a zombie. The raggedy clothing, the scrapes and bruises all over his body, how lanky he is. It looks like he was just bitten by a walker from The Walking Dead. He's so out of his mind that he starts violently throwing himself into the door, and he hits it so hard that he eventually just falls backward, having nearly knocked himself out cold. I do not want to think about what this guy would have done if he'd made it inside the home. See if you spot anything creepy about this next clip. Here's some context for this one. So this is surveillance footage from a manga cafe inside a multi-tenant building in Japan. The camera is set up right at the reception counter, capturing footage of the elevator near the entrance. Now notice as the elevator doors open and the man exits the doors. He's not alone in that small elevator. Right behind him, you can spot this tall woman in a red dress. At first, it doesn't look all that unusual, but take a closer look. Doesn't she look almost freakishly tall? She'd have to bend down to clear the elevator doors. But maybe she wasn't standing there. To some, it looks more like she's floating in the air. Not to mention that she's completely motionless. The more you look at this clip, the more unsettling it gets. It almost looks like footage you'd see from The Ring. Especially because, according to people in the neighborhood, the woman in the clip, as grainy and low quality as it is to be fair, looked a lot like a woman who'd taken her life in a nearby park not long before this footage was taken. And, of course, we need to talk about the infamous Alisa Lamb case, one of the most unsettling pieces of security footage online. Back in 2013, Alisa, a Canadian student, was staying at the Cecil Hotel in downtown LA. She went missing, and no one could figure out what happened to her. Then the LAPD dropped that elevator footage, the one we've all seen. It's only a couple minutes long, but man, it gave everyone the creeps. In the video, Alisa steps into the elevator and starts pushing a bunch of buttons, like all of them, but the elevator doors won't close. Then she starts peeking her head out like she's hiding from someone. She moves her hands in this strange, slow motion sort of way as she steps in and out of the elevator, almost like she's playing a game. She also looks like at one point she's talking to someone, but no one else ever appears in the footage. This was all authorities had to work off of. She was nowhere to be found. A couple weeks later, though, hotel guests started complaining that their water tasted funny. Sometimes it would come out muddy and dark. Maintenance checks the rooftop water tanks and, well, there's Alisa's body. But this just opened up a whole Pandora's box. Most of it centered around two very big questions though. Why was she there, and how did she get in there? The doors were supposedly locked and alarmed, and the tank was not easy to access, especially in the state she was in. The official cause of death was accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a contributing factor here. Still, that elevator footage has fueled theories for years. Everything from ghostly possession to some sort of cover-up. Maybe someone was there off camera she was hiding from. Well, there are still a lot of unanswered questions about this case to this very day, which is why we still talk about it. Did someone capture a shadow person on camera lurking over their bed? This video comes from Carrie E on YouTube, who noticed something terrifying on her home smart camera. Clearly, there's this dark black shape standing in the corner of the room. And, at first I didn't really think much of this. I mean, it's not hard to put on some dark clothes and lurk in a corner, but then it moves, and that's when you notice just how unnatural this thing really is. It zips across the room so fast, and in such a smooth, unnatural motion. This is clearly not a person. On top of that, watch how blurry it becomes. It doesn't look like a solid mass anymore. If you've ever had sleep paralysis and felt like something was standing over you or sitting on your chest and restricting your breathing, well, this video probably ain't gonna help you sleep any better, so sorry about that. Did you ever have an imaginary friend growing up? Do you have pleasant memories of said imaginary friend? Well, this next story may make you look back on your childhood a little differently. This photo here was shared online years ago. It looks pretty innocuous, two kids playing, but the thing is, there was only one youngster present at the time. At least that's what the parents thought. They were watching their son playing in the living room, saying he was talking with his imaginary friend Pauline. Dad snapped a picture, and when they looked back at it, they nearly screamed. Something else was clearly in the room, at least the camera picked something up. And the closer you look at this mysterious figure, the creepier it becomes. The eyes, the smile. Not only does it look unnatural, it has this air of aggression about it. Pretty creepy photo. So this happened back in January in Texas, just outside of Dallas. Two homeowners were left terrified after someone showed up at their house wearing a red satanic mask and holding a cardboard sign that said Revelation 21:15. If you know that Bible passage, it's all about the apocalypse, judgment day, that kind of thing. So the devil mask is bad enough, but it's really not the message you want showing up right on your front porch. The whole thing was caught on their doorbell camera. It happened around 8 p.m. on a Saturday. You could see the person dressed in all black standing there a few feet from the door, completely still. They ring the doorbell, wait a few seconds, then knock, and when no one answers, they just walk around the side of the house and stand there in the driveway, still holding the sign. The homeowners were not home at the time. They'd gone out to dinner, but they saw the footage later and they freaked out. "I'm scared," the homeowner told CBS. "I'm scared to leave the house. I'm scared to be at the house." She also said, "It's about the end times. It's about Judgment Day. I freaked out." Police looked into it and said the masked person hadn't been seen at any other homes in the area and technically didn't commit a crime. Still, they said they'd keep an eye on the neighborhood just in case. And a little message to viewers here. Probably not the best idea to knock on some random person's door wearing a devil mask in Texas. Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, just what kind of animal are we looking at here? According to the uploader, it wasn't an animal, at least not one he'd ever seen. Reddit user Corrine James posted the image along with a description reading, "EMT friend saw this 2 nights ago, turning his ambulance around at the end of a rural road. It was swaying and its eyes were glowing without the headlights. This was in central Kentucky." Now, interesting thing about Kentucky, it's the home of the Pope Lick monster, aka Goatman. So, a terrifying part man, part goat hybrid with glowing red eyes. I don't know, am I drawing the wrong connections here? Am I crying? I don't know, but what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Alright, so this video comes from a TikToker named AnelliRG. Her actual name is Mariana. She took the footage at her church in Mexico. According to her, she always felt a strange unsettling vibe whenever she was there. Nothing specific she could point to, just a general sense that something wasn't right. So one day she decided to record during Mass to see if she could capture anything unusual on camera, and she did. When she reviewed the footage, she noticed someone or something that she doesn't remember seeing in person at all. It stands out immediately. In her description, she said it wasn't a human, and honestly, it's hard to disagree. The figure looks pale with dark, almost hollow eyes, almost like some lifeless mask. It's not just a case of bad camera quality either. Everyone else in the shot looks completely normal. So what's going on with this ghoulish looking figure? What would you do if you were working overnight security and saw this person show up on your surveillance camera? I say person, but I mean, look at her, it looks more like a zombie to me. So, a school in Mexico, this security guard was on an overnight shift when he looked at the surveillance camera by the entrance of the building and saw this unsettling looking person staring up at the camera trying to get inside. The glowing eyes, the unusually long looking arms, this is not what I would want to see trying to break into my workplace in the middle of the night. Again, I'd think a zombie invasion was breaking out. This image was posted to Reddit by Dystopia321, who wrote, "This is a camera set up in the woods, set up to take photos when it senses movement. Main purpose is to take photos of deer and other wildlife. There were no people that could be in the woods at the time, and it had to have been moving to set off the camera. What is this?" Well, I can't say exactly what it is, but I can say it doesn't look good. A rake, a skinwalker, wendigo, golem. All possible identities mentioned in the comments, and I don't know, those seem like good guesses to me. What a horrifying looking creature. Could it be some extra tall, thin, pale person skulking through the forest alone in the middle of the night? Sure. But that's not really a comforting thought either, is it? What do you all think of this one? This one legitimately gave me chills, because it took me a few seconds staring at the image before I saw it, but when I did, yeah, just no thank you. Reddit user OrangeFood87 shared the picture saying that back in 2012, their roommate received the image from her boyfriend. He was working at a body shop after hours and snapped a photo of this totaled car that had just been brought into the shop. He was alone at the time and didn't see the eerie figure until he looked back at the photo. Apparently, he closed up early that night, and I can't say I blame him. This picture was taken at the South Pittsburgh Hospital by Reddit user JustOkayAtLife, who wrote, "Taken in the second-story shadow hall where they report a 7-foot-tall shadow figure. This was taken at the end of the night. There was one other guy with me, and he was in front of me to the left. He had the flashlight, so there's no way this shadow was either of ours. If you have a chance and you happen to be in Tennessee, I highly recommend visiting this place. Earlier in the night, I was walking down a dark hallway alone on the first floor, and from the left side of me, there was a doorway where I heard a hissing sound shoot out of one of the rooms, moving towards me. It was an incredible experience. Incredible experience, that's one way of putting it. Our final clip today comes from Saudi Arabia. YouTuber Adventures Jassim79 was doing what he does best, exploring a creepy abandoned place. This time he was walking through an old rundown house, and when he got to the roof, he caught something incredibly chilling on camera. As he passes by a clothesline, through a small opening between sheets, this ghoulish face with pure black eyes appears. Just as fast as it shows up though, it thankfully vanishes. Yeah, I'd be praying too if I saw that face poking out at me. Seeing as this is in Saudi Arabia, many viewers have commented that this could be more than just a ghost, but a jinn. Spirit-like beings from Muslim tradition that can be invisible, shapeshift, and sometimes exhibit a more classical kind of demonic behavior, tormenting people or in some cases, even possessing them. Genuine or not though, it's a pretty creepy video. And we're starting things off at number 10 with the red ghost. Now this is actually a piece of footage, not a photo, but like I always say, footage is typically more entertaining anyway. This clip was sent to the YouTube channel Vault of Fear, who shared it online. The name of the church isn't given, nor is the location, but we see the camera person filming the church. Now, they either have terrible cinematography skills or they're just kind of nervous because they saw something before they started filming. I'm not sure which. They eventually rest on the church altar though, where we clearly see a semi-translucent red figure walk from left to right. It then seems to crouch down before completely vanishing. This could definitely be a hoax, but if it isn't, and this is just what the person captured in camera, it's pretty incredible. Definitely not a trick of the light or anything. That looks like a figure walking across the floor. What do you all think though? Hoax? Genuine? Share your thoughts down below. And leave your comments down below even if you don't have any thoughts on this, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Nothing to lose. Number 9. Spooky figures. Back in 2017, 35-year-old Leah Harrison, visiting Lincoln Cathedral, captured something strange in a picture she snapped. She described the figure as looking like the ghostly figures of a woman and a boy, possibly the ghosts of a mother and son. It's kind of hard to make out these figures. They could definitely just be smudges or pixelation from the camera, but what adds to the credibility possible ghosts caught on camera here is that this church is said to be haunted. With it being constructed all the way back in 1072, the place certainly has a lot of history, so if these mysterious figures are indeed ghosts, then who could they be? Well, there's an interesting tale surrounding this church, and it all started in 1349 during the bubonic plague. As the Black Death swept over the town of Lincoln, the bodies began piling up, and the church, being overrun with corpses, eventually piled a bunch of them in a mass grave next to the cathedral. The spirits of those buried without proper ceremony or blessing are said to haunt the grounds, rising on the anniversary of their burial, forever trapped between heaven and hell. Sticking with Lincoln Cathedral for a moment, let's talk about the haunted well, pictured here. This well is associated with an urban legend surrounding the devil. Now, the well definitely has an old allure about it, being constructed nearly 1,000 years ago, but there's nothing immediately unsettling about it at first glance. But legend has it, if you walk around the well 7 times and stick your finger into one of the holes in the door, the devil himself will cast judgment on you. If you're deemed a good person, you'll simply feel his breath on your finger, but if he deems you a real miserable piece of crap, he'll chomp your finger clean off. What constitutes bad or good to Satan? That's hard to say. I think it's safe to assume though that sticking your finger into strange holes is probably not the best idea without knowing exactly what's going on in there. Next we have St. Mary's Church in Ackenham. St. Mary's Church is rumored to be haunted by the devil. According to local legends, the devil is believed to rest beneath the church, specifically beneath a broken tombstone known as the Devil's Grave. The church, situated in the small village of Ackenham, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, has gained a reputation for supernatural occurrences over the years. The tale goes that the devil himself is said to have chosen this location as his resting place. The focal point of this belief is a particular tombstone within the churchyard, colloquially referred to as the Devil's Grave. And legend goes that disturbing the Devil's Grave could cause the Lord of Darkness himself to rise, inviting malevolent forces into the world. At number 6, we have another St. Mary's Church, this one in Clop Hill. If I were to conjure up an image in my mind of a haunted church, probably look exactly like this. This 14th century chapel fell into disuse in 1848, and over the years, it's gained a reputation for being a haunted site with possible satanic activity. During the 60s, evidence of disturbing activities surfaced when the church and its grounds were investigated. The walls of the chapel were found covered in graffiti, with occult symbols and ritualistic markings on it. Graves in the churchyard had been disturbed, pointing to possible disturbing activities taking place on the grounds. There are also urban legends associated with this place too. One legend goes that the church is haunted by the devil, mostly because of the orientation of the church altar. And traditionally, Christian churches are constructed to face the eastern direction, symbolizing the direction of the heavens and the anticipated coming of the Messiah. But in the case of St. Mary's Church, the altar faces the southern direction. Number 5, St. Nicholas's Church in Pluckley. If that's not an English sounding name, I don't know what is. Pluckley. Look at this spooky image here. I don't think it gets any more classically gothic horror than that either. St. Nicholas's Church in Pluckley, as well as the town itself, is said to be very, very haunted. The church, dating back several centuries, has become known for its paranormal activity. Legend goes that the churchyard is haunted by various spirits. Visitors claim to have witnessed apparitions and strange occurrences in and around the church. Haunted occurrences range from ghostly figures to unexplained sounds. One of the most well-known spirits said to haunt the grounds is known as the Red Lady, who roams the church grounds at night in search of her stillborn child. Pluckley as a town has also earned quite the reputation, said to be the most haunted village in Britain. The village's population to ghost ratio is very out of whack. It's a small place, but it has 12 known ghosts roaming around it. And at number 4, we have Rouse Church. This is a 12th century sandstone church in the Czech Republic. It's adorned with a peculiar feature above its main entrance, a small stone face believed to depict the devil. The legend surrounding this traces back to the church's construction and involves a local troll. According to the lore, during the church's initial construction, a troublesome troll, one of those in the comments that keeps asking about people's hair. I wonder if this is him. Anyway, this troll, angered by the sound of church bells, consistently disrupted the building process by moving materials across a stream every night. Frustrated builders eventually abandoned the site altogether, choosing to build the church in its current location nearby. Still discontented, the troll decided to relocate 26 miles northwest to Kullaberg. There, the troll expressed a desire to return home, but claimed he was hindered by what he called the jingling gray mare, a reference to the church and its chiming bells, which he was too afraid to name directly. The church's distinctive stone head above the entrance is linked to this legend. There are 3 main theories about its origin. One goes that it represents Ra, the giant, credited with the church's construction, another associating with Roland, a medieval Christian knight, and the most prominent belief is that it portrays the devil. The idea here is that the devil's face is seen as a protective measure against trolls and malevolent beings. And at number 3, the Spectre of Newbie Church. This image here is very famous, taken in 1963 by Reverend Kenneth F. Lord in the Church of Christ the Consoler, found on the grounds of Newbie Hall in North Yorkshire. Reverend Lord had been photographing the church. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but once he developed the pictures, he discovered a mysterious semi-translucent cloaked figure standing at the church altar. Reverend Lord claimed to be alone in the church at the time of taking the photo. The figure in the image looks a lot like a plague doctor or some malevolent type of spirit. It definitely doesn't look friendly, but skeptics quickly dismissed the photograph as a hoax, saying it was probably just double exposure or something. So Reverend Lord sent the photograph to experts to be examined, and according to their findings at the time, the photo showed no signs of tampering. Apparently, at least according to them, the image was genuine. And at number 2, we have Chernobyl Church. Pretty much any photo taken in Chernobyl is going to be eerie, given the context that it's the site of one of the worst nuclear disasters in history, but the abandoned church has to be one of the creepiest abandoned sites. That and the abandoned school probably takes second place. The church is beautiful, but looking at these images, it's hard not to have this strange feeling about it. Human beings are just designed to be a little uncomfortable in big, empty places where there should be people. Falls into that liminal spaces realm of horror. Plus, the church is in the middle, again, of Chernobyl, so apart from the harmful air, you have mutated animals and God knows what else lurking around. Imagine having to spend a whole night alone in this place with nothing but a sleeping bag and a flashlight. Would you do that for like $500? I'd consider it. If anyone wants to offer me like an e-transfer for $500 to like stay in one of these haunted places, I might consider it. That could be fun to film. Finally, though, we have St. George's Church in Czech Republic. This is what this abandoned church looks like now. Built in the 14th century, this Gothic marvel faced abandonment in the 1960s because of structural concerns. People had already thought the place was haunted, but then the roof literally caved in on the place during mass one day, which certainly didn't make people feel any less uneasy about going into the place. Over the years, the church was broken into, vandalized, and robbed. Believing the place was culturally significant, artist Jacob Hadrava stepped in with a unique vision to breathed some life into the decaying church. Instead of the usual restoration, he populated the place, all the empty pews, with ghostly sculptures crafted from plaster. And these eerie figures now sit in this sacred place, frozen in a congregation that blurs the line between art and the supernatural. Stories of a haunting atmosphere within this church still persist today. Some claim to sense an otherworldly presence as they explore the dimly lit space with whispers of ghostly apparitions and unexplained sounds.